Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Cobley with Life Transitions by Dr. Amy. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Increasing Longevity, Enhance Client Loyalty by Addressing Long-Term Health. Please use the chat box if there's anything I can assist you with during the presentation. It's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Amy. Dr. Amy Dupree earned her PhD in social work and is internationally recognized for her expertise on lifestyle issues relating to retirement, aging, caregiving, and family dynamics. For 30 years, she has guided organizations, professionals, and individuals on life transitions and how they can inform financial well-being. Her realistic approach has inspired thousands of financial advisors and their clients to better manage the success of overall life goals and financial plans. Please welcome Dr. Amy.
Thank you so much, Jason, and a welcome to all of you for joining us today. I'm guessing that you've come here to this webinar because your goal is to be your client's trusted advisor of choice. So I want you to know something. Our goal is to be your trusted advisor of choice. And the way we do that is we try to earn your trust by giving you real world insights and practical tips and techniques that you can use immediately with your clients. We believe it's all about the human connection. That's what gives you the competitive edge. And today it's the first of 4 webinars in our fall series. And as you know, we're talking about increasing longevity. And as you might guess, that's not just about the loyalty of your clients, but it's also about their actual health longevity. It's a really powerful topic that advisors can use to both retain their current clients, to deepen those relationships, and also to become a referral magnet. I'm going to talk about that more and more throughout the presentation. Now, before we get underway, I want to introduce my guest co-presenter, who I'm thrilled to have with me today. And she and I are going to talk about this topic together. And I know you're going to enjoy her as much as I have grown to appreciate her expertise. You can see that Heather Holmes is a wealth tech leader. She's a CEO of an award-winning client engagement platform called Genivity. And over the 2 decades of experience in the healthcare industry is what she brings to us today. And it's in creating person-centered engagement programs and referral initiatives. She's a global expert in market development and outreach campaigns that drive cross-generational touch points that win new clients. But I want to tell you something beyond this. I've had the opportunity to know Heather now for a few years. And what I know her to be is not just smart and concerned about your business, but an incredibly caring individual who wants to do the right things for your clients. So I'm thrilled to introduce Heather to you. Heather?
Well, thank you, Dr. Amy. And after something like that, you're kind of getting me right off guard right in the beginning, but it's been such a pleasure to know you and work with you. And I always love hearing how you approach these conversations and can't wait to be able to share together what we've been working on here today.
Thanks. And Heather and I are going to dialogue back and forth with each other and hopefully bring our dual expertise to you to make your work even easier. So here's what we're going to do today. We're actually going to talk about the benefits of longevity planning and why focusing more on the quality of life clients should enjoy in later retirement can elevate your offering. Think about it this way. We're talking about retirement planning on steroids. That's what I call this. It's the opportunity to have a very different lens to look at retirement planning through. And I think you're going to see it's a very important lens. And what we're going to do is utilize real life case studies. And that's going to help, I think, you really understand the ideas that we're talking about in a more practical way. And we're going to help you take this longevity planning to a new level where when you leave this webinar, you're really going to be set up to have conversations differently with your clients. We're going to help you start the conversations with existing clients, new clients, women, families. And I want you to know that there's a takeaway that you'll get after this that has a lot of the actual scripting, if you will, that you can use as a jumping off point. So you don't have to try to capture things, whether it's by taking pictures or doing whatever. We're going to give it to you after, so you can relax and just kind of enjoy the webinar today and take in the content. Okay, Heather, I'm going to hand it off to you so you can actually talk to them about what longevity planning is, because I really feel that you're the expert on this topic.
Well, thank you, Amy. Obviously, longevity planning is something that I am deeply, deeply passionate about, because the reality is reaching age 90 or 95 or older is becoming the norm. And what that means is that retirement could last 20, 30 years, even more than that. And the reality is clients need help from their advisors to be able to understand what does this mean to them and really help them achieve those goals, which is what is all about this new level of holistic thinking between the individual, their family, and their advisor. And so what longevity planning allows you to do is to just shift the focus. It's no longer retirement planning. It's not financial planning. It's the positive aspects of how do you want to live a long and well life to really better achieve your goals and your visions there.
Heather, I'm sorry. I want you to know I'm not changing those PowerPoints on you in case you think I'm doing that.
Not a problem whatsoever.
All of a sudden, a little bug just came in and started shifting the PowerPoints. But I thought, my goodness, Heather probably thinks I'm just shifting them on her. My apologies.
No, it's no worries whatsoever. But because there is so much content for us to cover today, so I'm fine with moving along that way. But really, advisors, what we want to share with you is that this really is a way to talk differently with your clients and differentiate yourself, and to and really invest in them in this way. So, Amy, I'll turn it over to you to talk about their world.
And I'm interested that there seems to be some sort of a little animal in my clicker that is making it move without me. It's nice to have a co-presenter who decides when you're done with your slide, huh? So let's talk about your role as wealth advisors, because this is key, right? First of all, you don't have to be a therapist. You get to stay in your lane. And as I said, this is about really adding value in thinking about not just your clients' money, but about their lives, the non-financial part. I do a lot of work talking to people about how do you talk to your clients about their life and then make the shift to talking to them about their money. So it's talking about their life, learning how to do that, express empathy with ease, and then shift to the financial conversation. So, as you look at this, we know that a lot of today's retirees are thinking about how do they live these post-career years and finding meaning. They want to connect with others. They want to explore some passions or ambitions. But other people, as you know, encounter unanticipated medical expenses, or they need some supports. And without the required supports, longer life expectancy isn't really a gift. It can actually have some downsides. Financially, emotionally. We know there's a lot of issues that occur for people who aren't ready for this. Now, here's the thing, as wealth managers, you're in the ideal position to help, not only through planning, but by offering planning from a financial standpoint, by offering longevity planning services and resources that really can help retirees with the support they need to take advantage of all these new opportunities and also deal with the unexpected challenges. And that's really a key about it. So we know that if you engage with your client in a holistic manner, you become a referral magnet. I talk to people all the time about how do you become more referable? That's being a referral magnet. It's not just asking for referrals, it's running your business in such a way that you're a referral magnet. So what are the benefits to your over 50 clients? Because that's really the group we're looking at. Well, obviously it provides peace of mind knowing that their healthcare costs will be addressed, especially as the pandemic has made people very aware of the cost of care and about what's happening with long-term care. It also offers an opportunity for them to make healthier lifestyle choices. Here's what it does. It helps them feel prepared. They have increased confidence. And something I talk about a lot is having more choice, control, and independence as we enter our later years. So let's talk now why longevity planning is especially important right now. And I'm going to turn this over to Heather, and I'm going to hope my slides don't continue to move. Go ahead, Heather.
No problem. So according to the Society of Actuaries, 2 out of 3 pre-retiree men underestimate the average life expectancy of being a male. And the reality is when we are asked to guesstimate or estimate or to come up with a number like that, we have different framing effects that can really throw off how the plan should be working, and can kind of detract from a productive conversation. But looking at what the kind of actuarial tables show is the averages here, a 65-year-old man, so a man who's 65 years old today, has a 50% chance of living to be age 87 or older, and a 25% chance of living to be age 93 or older. Now, if we look at the couple, so think of it as a man and a woman, or man and a man, or whoever the couple is, who are at that same 65-year age today, they have a 50% chance of living to be age 94 or older, and a 25% chance of living to be age 98 or older. That means one of them has a chance of living there. If you think about that, that is a lot of extra years. So if you're planning for everyone to live to a certain age milestone, sometimes that people say age 90, or they're asking somebody to kind of think about how long, there could be a lot of room for error. And so,
wow, Heather, I'm listening to you, and I just want to say, I work in this field and I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I'm a gerontologist, and I still get blown away by how long people are living now and how little people recognize that. That's really what your work does, isn't it?
Really, and that's exactly it. The reality is people are living longer, and that is a positive. That means more time than ever in retirement, maybe more time than ever in your active working phases. But it's not just planning about longevity and how long someone lives. What's also really important factor to consider is health span, meaning how many years are we looking at for an active, healthy phase of life versus that later slow go phase, kind of the go to slow go. And so goals-based planning has become table stakes these days. Everybody's offering it, and that's really, I think, a great thing in general for the industry. But now it's how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else who's offering goals-based planning? Well, as you know, a plan is only as good as the data and the assumptions that go into it. And if you're using something like a static planning age for all clients, that's really not personalized. So there are ways that you can create a more personalized conversation around longevity and health span that can help set you apart. So just from having conversations with your clients, you're already getting different clues about different family health risks, different lifestyle factors that could be impacting their plan. We're going to talk about how to take those bits of information and turn them into action, and then also look at some other ways that you could further enhance that data.
Terrific. Well, thank you. And I know you, like me, are pretty passionate about this topic. So as we look at this, through the rest of the hour, I'm hoping that all of you attending this webinar become just as passionate as we are, because we both have seen what happens when people don't do this planning. And a lot of it is that they don't have the knowledge that they need and the information they need. And that's where you come in. And when you look here, this is one of the first things, what clients fear. I want to show you a few things that we know they fear. But that's my magic little mouse in there. 68% of pre-retirees fear running out of money, or outliving their money is what we're talking about. Now, here's the thing. I think that actually comes from is an uninformed fear. So you just heard what Heather talked about the numbers and how long people are likely to live. And you might think, well, that's where that's coming from. Actually, for a lot of people, they don't know what their actual issues are. So we want them to be informed and know what they need the money for and how much time they might need the money for, not just have this overarching fear that they're going to run out of money, which is what we know a lot of people have. Okay, we also know that health is a top concern for your high net worth clients. So they may not be afraid of running out of money, right? Because they may have plenty of money, but they're afraid that they're going to get sick. And nearly half of them worry they won't have anyone to take care of them. So this is a big issue for them. And as we continue thinking about that, look at this, that 88% of wealthy retirees have not fully integrated potential healthcare costs into their retirement plans. Now, that is a significant issue. So they may say, hey, I'm prepared for retirement. But we're going to see a slide in a couple of minutes where I'm going to talk back on this about prepared for retirement. What they're not prepared for are those later chapters of retirement. They say less than half of them feel secure about their health and about long-term care planning. So they're thinking of retirement as those first few years. And I think this is the big shift we need to make in our thinking and working with clients, is getting them to think about the entire years of their retirement, not just that beginning part. And one other thing they say is no one's having these conversations with them. And I can tell you that from research, but I can also tell you because I do a lot of client events, and that comes out in client events. Okay, here we've got this now. 78% of adults say their greatest fear is being a burden to their children in their old age. They don't want to rely on their kids, right? Most people say, I want to be at home, maybe my spouse, I want to be there in a home health aide, but not my kids taking care of me. Yet, guess how many people have actually talked to their kids about this? Only about 39% of people have talked about with their kids about who might care for them. Now, we know that your clients have clear preferences about where they want their care, yet few have developed a plan, fewer than a quarter have saved for it, and most avoid the topic. They don't want their loved ones to worry, so they're not going to talk about it. Yet, not talking about it, not planning, actually has some unintended consequences that are pretty serious. Think about that for a minute, what might happen. And I can tell you, because I've seen this happen over and over, and I'm guessing you have with your clients too. What happens is their kids actually end up bearing the burden of that a lot of times because there hasn't been the planning done. We know adult kids worry about their parents. So if you can get them involved in life planning discussions, it actually makes them less concerned. And guess what? There's an opportunity in that for you to build relationships with the next generation. I've worked with advisors who actually use longevity planning, caregiving conversations, all these topics as a way to develop a relationship with the next generation that is based on value add. It's not just saying, I want to meet your adult kids. There's a reason to do it. So as we go through talking about these issues, I hope you're triggered throughout this to think about how do you shift your practice just a little bit to address these issues and to bring in the other family members. Okay, here's the last stat. We're not going to kill you with stats today, but it helps to have some of these. So we know, and this is something Heather and I both talked about being very passionate about, that when we look at the fact that 45% of women over 65 are single, we see this as a huge opportunity for you with your women clients. We all know the stats that women are not happy with the financial services industry by and large. We've been reading the same stats for decades. So I want to tell you that a lot of women we know feel ignored by the industry. And I know that individual advisors feel like they're serving their women clients well, yet I can tell you in doing workshops with women clients that they often come up to me and say at a reception following with their advisors who they really care about being in the room, I'm not comfortable talking about these issues, or I feel like my advisor doesn't fully understand what's going on for me. So as you hear the rest of this presentation, we're going to come back to women in a few minutes. I really want you to think about where's the opportunity for you with women clients. Okay, so I just threw all those stats at you. Let's just do a recap here. This is what people are afraid of: running out of money, getting sick and not having anyone to take care of them, healthcare costs. They're afraid about being a burden. And women especially are afraid about aging alone and not having enough resources. So in all of this is your opportunity to add value. So I told you I was going to chat with you about this. This is something I talk to clients about and I talk to advisors about a lot. Thinking about retirement, not just in those first few years, the early retirement, but thinking about it in 3 chapters. And you'll see up above, we can also look at those in terms of active years and extended care years. And by talking to your clients about these things, and often having a visual where you can actually look at this with them, it makes a difference. This is the topic of conversation people aren't having. I just did a coaching session with a group of advisors who told me that they do plan financially with their clients for these years, but they never have the conversation about what the money's for because it's a hard conversation to bring up. So what we're going to do with you today is show you how you can bring this conversation up and give them real value in this. So here's the opportunity, right? Help them plan, not just for those active years, but also for the extended years of care, and to think about the healthcare costs that are part of that. And again, I always talk to clients about that the goal is for them to have choice, control, independence, and to have excellent quality of life. I hope you will use those words for with your clients. That's the end to these conversations a lot of times, is to say, you know, the goal here is I want to support you having choice, control, and independence forever in your life. And in order to do that, there are some conversations that we need to be having. So we'll have more specific talk about scripting in a few minutes. Okay, before we keep going, we're going to do a poll. And here's the poll. What percentage of high net worth retirees have not fully integrated potential healthcare costs into their retirement plans? And you see the poll there, and we've got Jason running the poll. So if you'll answer that, please. Let's see how you do on this. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, I have to lean in to see your answers. And so those of you who are saying 88%, that is the correct answer, is 88%. Okay, so here we go. We're going to move on to the next part. We're going to have a couple polls for you throughout this. Okay, so now we're going to take a look. I told you, I promise you we do case studies. And we're going to take a look first at a case study of a new client, and then we're going to look at existing clients. So this is key because, you know, when you think about the opportunity with new clients, it's likely you're going to be the only one who's having this conversation. So imagine you're converting a prospect to a client, and you're talking about how you do your business. And you actually talk to your clients about the fact that you talk about what I call the third of life. Think about that for a minute. Last third is retirement. You're talking about the third. You don't just do retirement planning for the first few years. That's a very unique way to do retirement planning. And people will really appreciate this because this ties back to those concerns that the client has. Remember those concerns we just listed. And one of the things that I think you want to remember is those concerns that we just went through are not concerns that people often voice. So it's important for you to know them and to be able to talk to your client about the fact, you know, this is a big concern, and you make sure that your clients are prepared for this. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Heather now, who's going to talk to you about a case study.
And as Dr. Amy, as you said, the way I like to describe it is that these are these pressure cooker fears. So they're just sitting there and they're boiling below the surface that people have, and they're just waiting for something to release that and open it. And you as the advisor engaging and starting this conversation and showing that empathy and caring is a great way to get them to open up, understand, and take a little bit of sigh of relief. And I think we'll see that here with Anne, our first case study. So Anne is a high achiever. Okay, she's a 55-year-old woman. She has a thriving career as a data scientist. She's a single income household. From a longevity and health span perspective, a couple of things that we notice is she has a family history of dementia. And she is so busy working, she's not spending as much time doing other things to take care of herself, to help her live longer and healthier. So when we dive into her unique longevity health span, if we can click to the next, thanks, Amy. We can see here. So as we talked about that family history of dementia, the first thing that you're going to see jump out on her longevity health span, we're going to look at that first color bar that you see on top, is that we see a high percentage of potential extended care years. So dementia is a disease that can be long, and it can be quite expensive. So we're seeing a projected risk of that there. These are things that are already top of mind for Anne. She's looking for somebody who's willing to engage with her in these conversations because she wants to make sure she has a plan that helps her stay in control. Another thing that we notice here really is that she's looking at about 15 more active, healthy years before her retirement goal age of 65, and then about 16 active retirement years. So her phases of her life, we can help her plan better for to be in control. Now, we talked a little bit about there's some lifestyle factors that Anne can control. And one of the things with things like Alzheimer's and dementia is that there's a lot of a strong lifestyle component as well as a hereditary component. So there's things that Anne can do today that can help her live longer and live better. What we see on that second line there is her optimize options, that if she was to make some of these lifestyle changes, what her retirement and longevity health span can look like there. So I'm going to turn this now back over to Dr. Amy about how she would engage with this new client, Anne, with some of her results here.
I love that, Heather, because there's so much information in what you just talked about. And, you know, this is information most people don't have, right? And that's the key here, is that you've now got information that you can share with a client to do a very different level of planning. Now, remember, this is a new client. And remember that 73% of high net worth retirees say what? That getting sick is their top retirement concern, and 78% fear being a burden to their children. So you could start the conversation with new clients and you see a couple of ways right there on the screen. So my approach to holistic planning, specifically retirement planning, is different from many other advisors. We can create a plan that's not only based on your future wealth, but another very important part of your life, your health. You know, I often say your money and your health go hand in hand, right? Or your money and your health are both important when it comes to your goals and plans for the future. And I want to create a retirement plan with you that's personalized and will ensure that you have more choice, control, and independence as you age. Now, remember, I told you we've got a takeaway for you that we're going to give you that had these conversation ideas on it, so you don't have to worry. And here's the thing about all these conversation ideas. They're a jumping off point. The most important thing that matters when you're talking to your client about any topic, but certainly about these very personal, non-financial topics, is authenticity. So you have to find the words that work for you. You're not being scripted here. We're just giving you ideas as a jumping off point. Okay, so in looking at how to introduce it now to new clients, right? You're going to talk about longevity planning. I think what's key here is to address Anne's concerns that may not have been stated. Remember, I said clients often don't tell you what their actual fears are, but we have research and data that lets you know what most people have, and that gets the way for you to jump off. Now, one of my favorite 3 words, I always joke when I'm working with advisors about how to do these things, are the words "in my experience." When you say "in my experience," it gives you then the ability to share many, many things. If you're a younger advisor, a new advisor, and you're thinking, I don't have that much experience, then use the experience of your colleagues as well. You know, in the experience of my team, in the experience of this firm, whatever that is. And then you say, see the wording we have there. I have a very effective process that I use with all of my clients. It'll allow us to project and plan for all chapters of your retirement, including the possibility of care costs. It's a simple assessment you can take, and then I embed those results into my program to give you a very personalized financial retirement plan. Not only that, but it'll give you some ideas on lifestyle changes that you might make that could have a positive impact on your health. Now, see, you're not designing that. You're just offering something that you can give to your client that'll let them look at both sides of that equation. So again, talking with Anne about the case study person about this, there are a couple of ways here. So we've got her planning for different phases of retirement. So here's something you could say for that. You know, Anne, as we look at your longevity projection, it's really likely you're going to live into your 80s, which is amazing. Given that, we want to make sure that you plan your finances so they go the distance with you. We don't want you worrying about running out of money. So how about if we take a look at your retirement plan and we ensure that you have the finances for great quality of life throughout your life? Who's going to argue with that, right? Or if you're addressing the potential extended care years, those years where she actually might need some help, you can say, you know, no one likes to think about the possibility of needing care in the future. It's human nature. We don't want to deal with that. But it's important for us that we talk it through, because the goal is that you have as much choice, control, and independence as possible throughout your entire life. Part of that is being able to have the care options you would choose if you ever needed care. And, this is where COVID gives you an opportunity to talk, because people are more aware of thinking about where they might want to age. So when you bring that up, that will resonate with people. So, and as we look at this, in your case, it's likely that you might need 7 years of extended care. So let's take a look at your financial plan with that in mind. Okay, and then if you're talking about possible cognitive decline concerns, now remember, runs in her family, so that's an issue. You could say, it's also important we address what might happen if, and again, speak to your client's concerns here about with dementia in the family, we want to make sure that, again, you have the best choice in control and independence in your life despite that. So maybe we should take a look at your will, your powers of attorney, and your healthcare proxy, and make sure everything's up to date. Plus, what could be considered to increase your longevity? And if you need care, where would you like to receive it? This is all factored in, and this is important to make sure that you have the best quality of life possible throughout your life. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I don't know if I can get into these conversations with my clients, you can. And when you have the information in front of you and you think about how do you actually get into that, these are just some jumping off points again. But remember, the goal here for you is to add value to your client's life. And that's not just about returns. That's about adding quality about these issues in their life as well. And no one is going to have these conversations with them if you don't. Okay, so that's Anne. She's a new client. Now we're going to shift here and we're going to take a look at how longevity planning might be presented to existing clients. We're going to look at a couple, and I think you'll find this brings up a lot of pretty interesting points when we look at this one. So I just want you to think though about how do we enter into this conversation, right? So here again is some sample language. As you know, we've been working together to ensure you have the best financial plan for your retirement. Now, I'm sure you'll agree that your health as well as your money is also important in retirement. The goal is to have both, not just one of them. And we want to make sure your retirement plan considers both. Now, you'll notice this is a setup. I'm going to pause here for a second because oftentimes advisors will say to me, well, how do I talk to clients who I've already had a relationship with? Why haven't I brought it up before this? Like, why suddenly am I bringing this up? So this gives you an idea about how to say that. You're now at a life stage where we're going to expand and go deeper into the planning conversation. We have a process that will allow us to more effectively project and plan healthcare costs for you and your family. This will help us ensure you have the maximum choice, control, and independence as you age. It's a simple assessment that you and your spouse can take. And then I embed those results into your current plan, and we'll make any adjustments that we might need. Not only that, but it's also going to give you some idea of possible health lifestyle changes that might improve your quality of life. Okay, so again, existing clients, you can bring it into them by talking about we're expanding and deepening the conversation because of where you are life stage wise. Now it makes sense to look at these issues. So it's not like you've just brought this out of the blue and ignored it up till now. Okay, now I'm going to ask Heather to talk to us about this couple because this is a pretty interesting case, actually.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Amy. And so, yeah, this gives you a different framework of a way to re-engage with clients and to find that other touch point for your clients and by bringing in something new into your practice. So with our case study too, we wanted to look at something that's probably a scenario you see quite a bit and is really kind of hits on some different issues and concerns for both the couple collectively, as well as for each partner in the relationship individually. So here we're going to look at a second marriage couple. There's going to be an age difference that we're going to be looking at here. They are going to have independent concerns as well as collective concerns. And it's going to show you different ways that we can look at planning for life stages. So we're going to start with Jane. So she's a 50-year-old woman. She lives a very healthy lifestyle. She has an excellent history of family longevity. She's doing everything right. And that is what you're seeing reflected in her very personalized projections you see here for her longevity and her health span. So what we see here with Jane is she's looking at about, when she turns 65, about 29 active retirement years. 29 is a long time of a very active, healthy retirement. And later when we see her transition from that kind of active go-go phase to that later slow-go phase, Around age 94, we're projecting she's going to move into that extended care phase. But let's go a little bit deeper here in looking at her longevity. So this initial screen we're looking at was showing the 50% probability of her living to be age 97 or older. But of course, that's the 50% probability. Let's look deeper. So here on this chart, what we're looking at is Jane's personalized expanded longevity projections. Now, the purple line you see here is the average female's probability of living to each age milestone out to age 110. The blue line that you see here is Jane's personalized probability. So once we match her to other women, same ethnicity, same current health status, same family history of risk, same lifestyle factors, you can see Jane is very different than the average probability. And in fact, here we see she has a 26% chance of living to be age 102 or older. Now, look at that, follow that purple line down below, and you'll see the average woman has about a 4% chance. What this does is put you and Jane and John, as we're going to fold him in a second here, all on the exact same side of the table of wanting to make sure that Jane is taken care of, that she doesn't outlive the assets, and that she's able to live her best life. Now, if we transition over briefly here to John's scenario, when we look at John here, John's a little bit different, all right? So John is 60, so he's about 10 years older than Jane is. And his scenario, he is not much of a healthy lifestyle. He'd rather work than work out, and that's reflected in some of the projections we see here. He also has a family health risk of heart disease and a poor history of family longevity. So all these factor into some different projections for John. So here, when we're looking at him turning 65, we're projecting 15 active years of retirement. And then at around age 80, we project he's going to transition from that go-go phase to that slow-go phase. Now, when we say 5 projected years of extended care, that does not mean 5 years in a nursing home. That just means 5 years of increased challenges with daily activities of living and needing more care and support. What you also see here on John's profile is that there are some different lifestyle factors that if John wanted to create a little more harmony in his schedule, he could actually optimize and live longer. But first, let's look at those extended care projections for John, because we're going to plan for the most conservative scenario, which is his current scenario. So here, when we look at John's extended care years, we're going to break out what those 5 slow-go years can look like. And here we're projecting 3 years of more lighter home-based care, before needing a year of more stepped-up support, like at the equivalent of assisted living, or if he stays at home, more support at home. And then later, a year of potential nursing home care or even more stepped-up support. Now, the question is going to be, and we go to this next slide here, is how does John and Jane's scenarios match up together? So as you said, we're looking here at a couple who has an age gap. Now, when we look at their 2 scenarios side by side starting today, you can see where some of the challenges and rubs can happen. So the first thing is we see Jane's long active retirement. But if you look down at John's scenario, you can see about halfway through Jane's active retirement phase, John's going to start really slowing down and he's going to be needing help. So does that mean Jane is going to be the one providing care? Does John not want her to? How is this going to impact their lives and their goals and their dreams? And how are they going to plan for these different factors? And I think, Dr. Amy, you have one of the most, I think, eloquent ways of planning for these different phases. So I will transition it back over to you to dive into that.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. I just am trying to figure out how I can be Jane in this scenario. That's and maybe
have a salad for lunch today. Maybe like that's we're trying.
I was going to say maybe what you'd say to me is exercise more, and that will happen. Every time I work with Heather on this, I think exercise more. People always say to me, what's the fountain of youth? And I'm like, well, I think it's probably exercising more. But I love this example too. And the reason we actually chose this example is I am sure for many of you, you've got lots of couples who are in your practice where there's an age gap. And this is a conversation, and sometimes people say to me, I don't really want to get into this conversation with my couples. Let me tell you something. They already know they have an age gap. You're not telling them they have an age gap. So what you're doing is helping them deal with the issues around that age gap. And I think that's the important part of this. Okay, so before we keep going, let's do another poll. What are the major differences between John's current and optimized extended care if you were to make some changes, extended care projections, I'm sorry, if you were to make some lifestyle changes. We're waiting here, waiting just for you to get through. We're checking how much you're listening. No, it is all of the above. For those of you who said all of the above, that is the correct answer. So,
But
it's all-
I love the last answer on that, which is that he's missing out on 6 more active years with Jane.
Yeah.
I'm sure that that's what she wants more of with him, and I'm sure probably, but you're right.
You're right. That may be the actual real answer, right? So, and now we're going to talk about, how do you talk to couples about this? Because sometimes, as it says here, the results can be a little bit uncomfortable, right? But the truth is it provides excellent information and ideas for positive health changes to impact the longevity. So it's worth having these conversations any way you look at it.
And if I could just add one thing
Please
to this, it's also so important because these are the concerns that they're both sitting with, and what a hero you can be as the advisor and that trusted resource if you can help take these fears and put them into actionable plans that they both know and are both comfortable with. Help them have the conversations that maybe they're a little unsure of how to navigate together.
Love that, Heather. And I completely agree with that, because remember, people have these fears that they may not be talking about, and they may not know what to do with the fears. So now you're actually giving them information and you're helping them do planning. That gives people enormous comfort. Don't you think, Heather, when you do that?
Absolutely. Once you have a plan, then you can focus on executing on that versus sitting out in the hypotheticals.
I agree with that totally. Okay, so let's talk about something you might say to Jane and John on this, right? So you might say, Jane and John, my hope is that by reviewing each of your longevity health span plans, it's not easy to say, we can consider the lifestyle that each of you want individually and together. And we can make sure that your retirement financial plan then reflects that. In my experience, my 3 favorite words, right? In my experience, doing this often encourages couples to have more informed planning conversations. So just think about that for a minute. What value you're adding for your clients by having that conversation. So then you could go on and say, for example, if we consider both of your current plans, it's projected that Jane's going to be healthy until about age 90. Pretty amazing, Jane. And John, right now it's projected you're going to live until about 77 healthy, and then require, about 5 years of some extended care. Given your age difference, and see, this is where the key is right now, that it's not just these individual plans. This may mean that you need care when Jane is about 72. Obviously, there's no guarantee in any of this. And if you take a look at the optimized projections, these years of care get reduced, and then they occur about age 84. They get reduced to 3 years. This means that Jane would be 79 when you might need some care. Now, I have to tell you, I'm going to pause here for a second and tell you that I have several friends who are in this position of having spouses significantly older, and they're concerned about exactly these things and would love this kind of information. And I have asked each of them, have their advisors had this conversation with you? And they have all said no. So here is where the differentiator in your opportunity lies. Now, you can continue that conversation by saying, these are important considerations for both of you because you each need to figure out how you both have the retirement you want, as well as making sure you've planned for potential care needs. You may want to give some thought, and then we meet again to review your financial plan to ensure it'll accomplish what you want. Let me share some where things are right now financially, and then that'll help you when you go have this conversation. Okay, so you're talking to them about the fact that, you've got the facts in front of you, but then you say, hey, this may be a conversation you want to have, and we come back and talk about the financial. I would probably also add to that, the financial plan that we're doing, we want to reflect what's happening in the rest of your life. A financial plan isn't some academic exercise of things we set aside. It's intimately connected to the life that you want to have, and us making sure that we've planned financially for that. And here's one area that we can talk about that most people never talk about. And another, I keep talking about choice, control, independence. I'll tell you other words that you can use are peace of mind, that people want peace of mind for this life stage. So think about those words when you're having conversations with your clients. Okay, so when you're having these conversations, you may say, how do I kind of jump in? You know, I always get this visual. If you think about two people holding either end of a long jump rope and somebody coming in, I always think, where is that time when you jump in and start jump roping? And this is, where is the time you jump into this conversation with existing clients? Well, listen for some clues. It might be a recent health issue, you know, and you could say, I'm so sorry to hear about your wife's health issue. I can't imagine how difficult this has been for both of you. Okay, so there's now a way in through talking about 3 potential life transitions. I talk about life transitions and life quakes, which are the things that happen unexpectedly. And this, of course, would be a life quake. The second one, you might find out that your client's caregiving. And you could say, wow, you know, being a caregiver for parents can be really stressful. There's so many things to manage. And of course, there's also the cost. How are you doing during this time of caregiving for your mother? And this, again, is the entry to a conversation about someone's care needs later. We don't want to ignore your longevity needs. So I think longevity planning is an easy topic to bring up with people who are currently caregiving. And then the third is at a certain age, as people are approaching retirement age. You know, I always think as 50 is kind of that dividing point of where you can have some of these conversations naturally with clients, right? So you can say, as you're getting close to retirement age, this could be a great time for us to revisit your retirement plans with a different lens. And we could look at your retirement plan so we can be sure that you have the funds available should you ever need care in the future. I do client workshops and talk to clients all the time. I have never had any client come up to me at a reception and say, I don't want to think about or talk about these issues. They may say, oh, I don't like talking about these issues or thinking about them, but I know it's important. So your clients want you to talk to them about these things. Okay, now let's talk about all this in the context of addressing specifically women, families, and the next generation. Because as you know, and this is going to do a little poll here. Actually, I won't say anything till you do the poll. What do you think? What percentage of women will become solely responsible for their financial well-being at some point in their lives? So Jason, go ahead and give us that poll. Okay, so for those of you answering this poll, the correct answer is 80%. 80% of the time, and this comes from a recent UBS study. I've actually seen it be 90% in other studies. So we took the more conservative figure with the 80%. And it's pretty shocking when you think about that, because you know that many of your women clients are not well prepared. And we know that it's important that we pay attention to women clients because they often feel like they're getting a raw deal with the industry. So the beauty of this conversation is you can engage all types of women, professionals, singles, your disengaged clients. If you have disengaged women clients, if they're part of a couple and you're having trouble engaging them, this is a great conversation to do it. We know from research that women tie money to outcomes. Men will often invest just to see the increase in returns. For women, it's about something in their life, right? So it's important to connect their life and what they value. And because we know that women are either holding the money because they have made the money or they are inheriting the money, it's a very timely conversation. So how do you do this with women? So you might, and again, a group of women we really don't want you to ignore are women who are single. We don't always want to think about women as being attached in a couple because we know we have more people entering the later years single than ever before. So make sure you're thinking about those people in your practice too. So you see, Ms. Jones, as we consider your retirement planning, we want to include health and longevity in our planning. We want to consider what you think will be part of your future and ensure you have maximum choice, control, and independence. Or maybe you have, as it says, a woman who's disengaged. Mrs. Jones, I think you'll be very interested in this discussion because we're not just looking at the numbers, we're also looking at your quality of life. You're now at a life stage where I'd like to go deeper into the planning conversation, which will allow us to more effectively project and plan healthcare costs for you and your family. By considering health and longevity in our planning, it will help to ensure you retain choice, control, and independence as you age and are prepared for what you want to have happen later in life. Those are conversations you can absolutely engage women in. So Heather, I'm going to ask you to talk about families a little bit.
So talking about family is something I'm very, very passionate about. And I think the research is clear that there are very few trusted resources. And we're talking about trusted resources, we're talking about trusted advisors who are out there positioning themselves of helping families understand, prepare for, or manage health-related expenses.
Yeah, and when you say that, Heather, I think there's the opportunity, right? 89% of families need your help is what we're saying. So you need to recognize the opportunity in engaging families. It's key.
And so one of the great ways to do this, people often say to me, well, it's, engaging the next generation is so important, but we don't know how to have these conversations. And the reality is, talking about health is really your key. That's your secret to getting in with the family in a way that's really meaningful, because the power of longevity and health conversations is the fact that families are all unique, right? Every family is different about how they relate to money and how they talk about money. But if you think about what is the one common thread that is a connection between families, and that's the health and well-being of their loved ones. So while they may not agree about money or how they want to talk about it, one of the things that will bring a family to their knees is a health crisis with a loved one. And while we could say that it's a when, the reality is, or an if, the reality is it's a when. We all will end up falling into this caregiver position at some point or need someone to care for us. So the key to you is to use longevity and health planning as a conversation with your clients, create that plan that puts them in control of how they want to live their lives, and then use that as a bridge to invite the children into that conversation, the adult children, and allow them to see and understand what are their parents' wishes, how have you planned and addressed it, and to really put you in that quarterback position so that they know when a crisis occurs, you're the one who can call to help them execute on these plans. It really shows the family that you're invested not just in the money, which can be a lot of adult children's concerns if they don't know you very well yet. Now you're showing them that it's not just about the money. You've been very concerned about their parents' well-being, and that you're helping to manage that as well as the wealth.
It's so true, Heather. I loved when you said that it brings a family to their knees when there's a health crisis, because that is the best descriptor I've ever heard of that. And it's true. And so we're going to give you just a couple more sample language things about how can you kind of start this conversation, because, talking about these things, there's a real business opportunity about retaining assets and securing intergenerational wealth transfer. It's also just the right thing to do for the family, for your client, for their family, for society. So Heather and I are very passionate about this topic because we want people to have better quality of lives as they age. And I know you want that for your clients. We also want you to have great businesses. And the beauty is it works together. So imagine a scenario, maybe with a second marriage, because this is pretty common, where everybody's a little bit hesitant to talk about estate planning. But through the longevity conversation, you can often engage the children by saying something that you see up there, right? If you ever have a significant health issue or care need, it's likely that your adult children will be part of your care team. In my experience, it's better for all of us to meet when things are going well so that your children know what resources are available and how I can be there to assist them. This is much better done proactively rather than during a potential crisis. By the way, if your clients say, they don't want to have these conversations, I always say you can postpone, but you cannot avoid these kind of conversations. And it's like pushing a rubber ball in the water. They often are worse the longer that you wait, and it's like that ball popping up and hitting somebody in the face. So delaying often makes these conversations harder. And then you say, if you're talking to the adult child, if ever your parents have a significant health issue or care need, it's likely you're going to be involved. So I find it's helpful to meet with the adult children when things are going well so that you know what resources are available to you and how I can help you in the case of a health issue. Then if a health crisis ever does occur, you'll have the information you'll need. There's peace of mind in all of that. Again, peace of mind is a great word for that. Okay, so where do you start after this workshop? Remember, we said we're very practical. We wanted you to have real world insight and practical tips and techniques you can use right away. So what you can do is go and make a list of your 50 plus clients, 50 plus age clients you think would benefit from this kind of conversation. And I bet there's a lot of them. Especially look at some of the disengaged women clients. Remember, we know 70 to 80% of women clients leave their advisor in the first year after their spouse dies. This is a way to engage your women clients. They leave because they don't have a relationship. Then you contact them, you let them know what you can do to help them plan for the future, both from a financial standpoint and a health and longevity perspective. Start the conversation that by saying that you believe that life planning and financial planning are best done proactively, not reactively. And have some stories that you can talk about. You know, I worked with this family and we talked about this. I try to have the happy stories, not the scary stories, right? But how it went so well because you've done it proactively. And again, if you don't have those stories, borrow them from your colleagues and say, you know, in the experience of my team. And the other thing you can do is take a look at the single women you have and really make sure you're meeting their needs. Okay, I hope you can see this is a win-win opportunity, right? You're looking always for ways to have meaningful touch points with your clients. I know this is a way to do it and to demonstrate value. It's also the way to really customize retirement plans in a different way. And it helps you differentiate yourself. It obviously shows genuine concern when you're coming at it from not just the financial standpoint. And remember, I started this by saying it makes you more referable. The way you become more referable is to have a deep connection with your client about things that matter to them. Okay, so I'm going to ask Heather to speak about Halo, and she's going to talk. Halo is an amazing tool that you can use. And Heather, I'm just going to turn that over to you to give us a little preview of this.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Amy. We appreciate you all spending your time today learning about how you can incorporate longevity planning. And one of the ways to do that is obviously we have built some proprietary software that really helps create a digital experience that your clients can engage with. You can use it to capture new leads from it embedding onto your website. As Dr. Amy talked about, this can be a great way to win prospects by showing how you're different through doing this longevity and health planning with Halo. So Halo will do the lifting and then give you the financial impact information, the longevity projections that you need to really have that more holistic plan. And along with the software that helps you engage with clients, we provide comprehensive resources from training and marketing, including how-to guides, social media and blog content to really talk about how you're different than everybody else by doing longevity planning, and really then being able to facilitate and engage with your new leads that you're capturing through the software. So if you're interested, we would love to share more with you at our website, genivity.com.
And Heather, I just want to say, I've gone through the software. I love the software. That's why I brought Heather on to be a co-presenter with me today, because I think it's amazing software. So I really want to encourage you to take a look at it. And I also want to encourage you to take a look at the Trusted Advisor of Choice program that I have. And you see here, it's a practice elevation program. What we do is we really show you through the lens of life transitions, a process to discuss those non-financial issues with clients and segue to the financial with ease, with elegance. And it really does create deeper, more authentic relationships and becomes a game changer. And I can tell you that because we've had thousands of people take the program and tell us it's made a huge difference. It's a 9-part e-learning program, and it's a balance of knowledge and skills. You know, we say in order to have success, it's about 20% knowledge and 80% skill building. So we really focus on the skill building in this. We help you elevate your practice. And you can see it has case studies. We actually have these fabulous client tools that you can use to engage with clients around non-financial issues. There's group coaching, and you'll be happy to know there is CE. Now, everyone who's here today will be entered into a drawing to receive the Trusted Advisor of Choice program at no cost. and we'll make the draw at the end of our webinar series. I've told you there's 4 webinars. And we're still going to send you the key takeaways from today's session. So I want you to watch for our emails tomorrow. Now, if you want to learn more about Genevity and Halo, you can go to genevity.com. And I'm going to ask you to stay in contact with us on social media. As we started this session, again, I talked to you about, we like to, it's all about the human connection. So stay connected with us. We want to do that with you. Please feel free to get on and connect, and we will be happy to have conversations with you. If you're not registered for the other 3 webinars in our fall series, I encourage you to do so. We'll send you a link in the follow-up email tomorrow. We're discussing the caregiving crisis on September 28th, then having a discovery of the importance of connecting life and money on October 13th, and join us for an in-depth skill builder, The Art of Deepening Relationships, on October 27th. I'm so pleased to have had the opportunity to co-present with Heather today. I hope you'll check out Genevity. I hope you'll check out Trusted Advisor of Choice. But mainly, I hope that you will do the right thing and put retirement planning on steroids and turn it into longevity planning. Thank you for your time.